All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. This is Dr. Ephraim. Today's date is December 8th, 2022. And if you're listening to the sound of my voice, that means you were blessed to see another day. And for that, all praise, honor, and glory is due to the Most High God of Israel for now and forever. All right, everyone, welcome. Um, got a bunch of new subscribers, and I'm grateful and thankful for that. So, welcome to all my new subscribers. And if you're new to the channel or relatively new to the channel, I know it could be a little overwhelming because I got over 200 and probably close to 270 teaching videos. But I recommend that to each of you, even if you've been here for a little while, to go through. One day you have some time, just kind of go through the different videos that I have and the lessons and get acclimated and up to speed on, who I am and, what I teach and what I believe, because that'll be helpful a lot. But, because sometimes when you just kind of get something in your feed and you read it or you see it, not really knowing the context behind it, and you kind of respond, you could be responding, erroneously or, at least not fully informed, right? So I recommend you definitely going through the videos. It's all there, free of charge. You can, stream at your leisure. All right. And make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell and select all so you'll be notified every time I upload a new presentation. Let's not depend totally on YouTube because I'm still getting reports, believe it or not, that people aren't receiving notifications of my videos being posted. So, we're fighting that, and we're fighting the fact that there's definitely a suppression on my channel for my views. And it's, but it is what it is, man. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm not going to stop. And that's what it is. So, in the spirit of all the new subscribers, let me just say that this lesson is kind of dedicated to you because I know that, with Kyrie Irving thing, a lot of y'all are just getting, acclimated to this whole, blacks are Israelites and this kind of stuff, things like that. So, um, the Bantu, and then when you take these DNA tests, especially the ones for 23andMe, and they tell you, that you're from this whole Bantu expansion, whatever. You probably heard that term, Bantu expansion, Bantu expansion. Well, I've uncovered, that the Bantus are actually the quote unquote children of Israel. They're Israelites. That whole Bantu expansion was actually a Hebrew Israelite expansion, right? Because they always tell you that the Bantus, migrated, but they don't tell you where they migrated from. Well, this lesson is going to deal with that pretty comprehensively. So much so that this is only part one of two, and we're going to deal with that. The Bantus is the Bantu African fraction are actually Hebrew Israelites. So all of us are essentially Bantus, all Negroes, all E1B1As. We all are Bantus. And essentially all of us are the seeds and the children of Israel or Jacob, right? So I'm going to deal with that comprehensively. So more so for the new brothers and sisters kind of just getting, acclimated to the truth of who we are. So that being said, now part two is even more comprehensive than part one. So I'm not sure when I'll get to part two, but we're gonna kind of digest part one right now. And the reference and the source for this is Dr. Dirk Lang. So shout out to him. Hopefully he's well and the Most High has mercy and keeps him. Appreciate all of his work, in the spirit of this truth of our people. So that being said, man, the Bantus are the Israelites, right? So anyway, let's get it. Okay, in this post, I would like to establish the fact that the Bantu branch of Africans, generally concentrated in sub-Saharan part of the continent, and their related family branches are actually descendants of the Hebrew Israelites. Identifying the Bantu as the descendants of the Israelites are extremely important. Having the understanding that the Bantus are Israelites is integral in order to gain a broader and more accurate comprehension of who the Israelites are, where their descendants are located, and what contributions they have made to the world. Many of us are already very familiar with the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary's Ham, son of Noah definition. Those who are not, please become soon familiar with it. However, again, for those of us who are already familiar with the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary's definition of Ham, we know that by it, the definition of Ham, we know that the Negroes are not from Ham. Okay. Um, in fact, the historical mythology and traditions of the Yoruba people themselves speak of their origins outside of Africa in the Near East, Shemitic region. Dirk Lang, professor, Dr. Emeritus of Bayreuth University in Germany, has performed extensive research concerning many West African groups and their origins in the Near East. In the abstract to one of his many essays, Dirk Lang, Origin of the Yoruba and the Lost Tribes of Israel, Dirk confirms the traditions of Levantine Israelite origin of the Yoruba Nigerians. Quote, on the basis of comparative studies between the dynastic tradition of the Oyo Yoruba and ancient Near Eastern history, the present article argues that Yoruba traditions of provenance claiming immigration from the Near East are basically correct. According to Oyo Yoruba tradition, the ancestral Yoruba saw the Assyrian conquest of the Israelite kingdom from the 9th and 8th centuries BC from the perspective of the Israelites. After the fall of Samaria in 722 BC, they were deported to eastern Syria and adopted by ruling Assyrian kings as their own. Origin of the Yoruba and the Lost Tribes of Israel by Dirk Lang. The Great Migration refuge from the collapsing Assyrian Empire, 605 BC, according to Yoruba tradition. There's a sample right there of the map. Adair continues in the same article stating that the Yoruba, although thought to be of local African origins, actually migrated to the west coast of Africa from far away, the Mediterranean, the Middle East, and or Egypt/Nubia. The Yoruba preserved evidence of their ancient Near Eastern ancestral origins, despite other cultural influences and traditions superseding their own in Africa over time. Quote, according to the present opinion, the Yoruba are local origin or African Hamite, but this opinion reflects the great influence of post-colonialism on African historiography rather than sober text critical research. It involves the fallacious dismissal of the major traditions of provenance, suggesting an origin of the ancestral Yoruba in the Near East. In fact, before the rise of academic African historiography in connection with the independence of African states from around 1960, scholars relied more directly on the available traditions of Yoruba origin, and they did some comparative research between Yoruba, ancient Mediterranean, and Israelite cultures. On the basis of this evidence, they suggested that the Yoruba immigrated from far away, either from Phoenicia, the Mediterranean world, Egypt, or Nubia. If any of these suppositions could be shown to be true and present opinion to be ideologically biased, it would mean that a culture of the ancient world survived in sub-Saharan Africa, which in the area of origin was superseded by subsequent sweeping developments such as Hellenization, Christianization, and Islamization. The information is noteworthy because it identifies one of the primary groups of the Niger-Congo branch of Africans, the Yoruba, as being, quote, Middle Easterners, Israelites, that migrated into Africa. The Bantu people are related to the Niger-Congo groups because it is from the Niger-Congo regions Bantu expansion had originated there. All right. In a separate article, Dirk Lang goes further to not just speak of the West Africans as having Near East cultural influences amongst them, but he and other members of the German culture historical school also found similarities all over Africa. Quote, members of the German culture historical school were convinced that states in West Africa originated in pre-Roman times as a result of Near Eastern or Mediterranean influences. They noted surprising similarities between the institutions of surviving traditional states all over Africa and therefore believed in a vast movement of diffusion. The vast movement of diffusion of Near East/Mediterranean influences all over Africa can be attributed to the consecutive migrations of Israelites into Africa The earliest movements of diffusion are known as the Bantu Expansion. So in review, we can infer from the previous information that Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary lets us know that the Negroes are not Hamites, but instead are from Shem. The Negroes are Shemitic, and that's us, my people. The E1B1As, we are Shemitic. Dirk Lang's research has made it clear that the Yoruba of the Niger-Congo Negroland region are indeed Shemitic. The Niger-Congo people had a branch that diffused the Near East/Mediterranean customs throughout the lands that migrated all over Africa during the Bantu expansion. Therefore, the Bantus of sub-Saharan Africa are related to the Niger-Congo peoples who are Negroes found in the African region, West Africa, identified as Negroland. We know that the Bible dictionary by Zondervan identifies the Negroes as Shemites and not Hamites. The historical traditions of the Oyo Yoruba people, as well as Professor Lang's research, along with countless other sources, support the information found in Zondervan Compact Bible dictionaries concerning the Negroes' Shemitic origins. Furthermore, the Negroes' presence in the Western Hemisphere, North, Central, South America, and the Caribbean, and Europe as a result of the transatlantic slave trade, which was a direct result of the biblical prophecy recorded in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28. Right? And many of you probably did not know that there was in Virginia, right here in America, there was a monument called Free Blacks of Israel Hill. African Americans identified as Israelites and recognized by Virginia State Historical Society. Please Google that when you have some time. That's a real thing. Free Blacks of Israel Hill. This prophecy of the curse. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, and it was spoke by Moses to the children of Israel / the Israelites. The curse of slavery is a sign. Okay, Deuteronomy 28:46, to identify who are the descendants of the Israelites. Let me say that again. The curse of slavery is a sign, Deuteronomy 28:46, to identify who the children of Israel are. For it was the Israelites who received the curses as a result of their choice to disobey the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God between himself and the Israelites. Let me say that one more time. The Israelites who received the curses as a result of their choice to disobey the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God of Israel between himself and them, the Israelites, only. Therefore, we Negroes in the Western Hemisphere, whose most recent ancestors were taken primarily from the west coast of Africa, Negroland, and brought into bondage, are indeed the Israelites. Let me say that one more time. Therefore, we Negroes in the Western Hemisphere, whose most recent ancestors were taken primarily from the west coast of Africa, Negroland, and brought into bondage, are indeed the children of Israel. The Shemitic Negro who took up residence in Africa and there became known as the Niger-Congo Bantu. Among infinite alternative tribal epithets is the Israelite through lineal heritage. This fact makes the Negroes of the Western Hemisphere Israelites by lineal descent as well. For those who are reading this post and immediately are concerned and thinking about the Negroes' relation to the Egyptians or Ethiopians, Egypt and Ethiopia will be addressed in a separate post. The Moors will also be addressed in a separate post. The Moorish Negro period of history, and especially the ancient Egyptian and Ethiopian Negro histories, are all both essential and complementary to the history of Israelites. Well, let me just say that there's no such thing as an Ethiopian Negro. That's kind of like an oxymoron. Ethiopians are separate from Negroes. Ethiopian and Negro should never be placed in the same sentence. So I'm pretty sure that was, he didn't mean anything by that, but there's no such thing as an Ethiopian Negro. So I just wanted to make that plain. The understanding of the Negro presence and contributions while living amongst Hamitic nations, as Egypt, Mitzrayim, and Ethiopia, which is Cush, is important to understand the greater diaspora of Israelite communities. The records of the Hebrew Israelites in the Bible say that the Israelites would be scattered throughout the four corners of the world. Most of the Negroes in the Western Hemisphere are only familiar with the West and the transatlantic slave trade, but not many people are familiar with the East African slave trade. Understanding that the Negroes equal Bantus equal the Israelites is a critical point to realize because it connects us to the mysteries of the East. Just as we are familiar with the West African Negro land, that the Americaribo Negroes are descended from, we must also become familiar with the East Africans Negro land. The East African Negro land, also known as Zanj, which means land of the Negroes in Arabic. Zanj is populated by Bantu people as well, of course, therefore making them Israelites as well. The histories of the Bantu Israelites of the East African Zanj will lead us to many connections between the Bantu Israelites and the Far East. Again, the understanding that the Niger-Congo equal Bantu Zanji equal Negroes equal Israelites is imperative to understand the origins of many mysteries of the Far East so that we might have a better eye to see Israelites in all four corners of their dispersion and trace them throughout history. Israelites migrate from ancient Israel into East Africa Zanji areas. The East African Zanji, who were mainly enslaved by the Arabs, let me say that one more time. The East African Zanji, which were Bantus/Negroes/Israelites, who were mainly enslaved by the Arabs, were sent to places like India, Java, and China as servants. But prior to the period of slavery, the Zanji traveled to the same lands as merchants, mercenaries, farmers, and among many other professions. In fact, history seems to demonstrate that the Bantu Israelites, through civilizations from the African continent and the Near East, introduced it to the Far East. When I say civilization, I mean things such as advanced iron smelting techniques and agricultural practices, rice terraces, herbology, and the foundations of Davidian and Chinese traditional medicine, irrigation, and architecture, and more. This is a what you call an Arabic manuscript portraying Zanji merchants on an Mtipe ship, and Zanji is Arabic for the Bantus, the Israelites, essentially. Okay. In order to make further distinction between the Shemitic Negro and the Hamitic African, let's return back to the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary's definition of Ham. The definition states, and just so I'm clear, the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary is basically just it's Genesis 10 and 6, but like I always say, it threw us a caveat. Genesis 10 and 6 gives us the descendants of Ham, or the children of Ham. The Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary tells us that. Plus, it threw in that he did become the progenitor of those races, but not the Negroes. All right, I just want to say that real quick. The definition states that Ham was the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. The ethnographic world map below, found in 1932 German encyclopedia, provides great visual support to the Zondervan's definition of Ham. The map makes a clear distinction in Africa between the Hamites and the Sudan Bantu Negroes. Both the Sudan and Bantu Niger, or Sub-Saharan Negro, fall under the Negroid Rasi, or Negro race classification. It is also interesting to note that the pseudo-Bantu Negroes are on the map highlights the same areas that are identified as areas of the Niger, Congo, and Bantu peoples, whom are Israelites. Thus, it becomes a further intrigue if we understand that the Hamite is not the Negro and that the Negro is the Israelite, that on this particular map under the Negro race classification, we can find other racial groups outside of Africa that are also classified and related to the Negro race. Groups such as Hottentot, Melanesia, Negrito, Austria, and the Dravida are all listed as part of the Negro race and are strongly connected with East African trade routes and the Zanji Bantu Israelites. This map helps to demonstrate the connection between the Zanji/Bantu, all the various places along the eastern trade routes. Sub-Saharan Africa is the region of the continent with the highest population density by Negroes, non-Hamitic Africans. These Negroes have also been identified as Israelites. The research of scholars corroborates the biblical records of the Hebrew Israelites, which also states that sub-Saharan Africa would be an area inhabited by the Israelites. From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my suppliants, even the daughter of my dispersed, shall bring mine offering. That's in Zephaniah 3 and 10. The Bantu are the Israelite suppliants who will bring the offering of the Most High God, Ahaya, the appointed time according to biblical prophecy. Moreover, the previous scripture calls the Israelites the daughter of God's dispersed, referring to their dispersion diaspora as a result of various captivities of the Israelites. Many of the traditional histories of sub-Saharan Bantu Africans speak their Near East origins before migrating into Africa, Yoruba, Lemba, Ashanti, etc. This traditional history serves as further evidence that supports the biblical record's account of the dispersion of the Israelites into all parts of the earth from their homeland, Israel. Bantus are not Hamitic, but are actually Israelites, and therefore Africa is not the motherland. Israel is the Most High God's holy land and the motherland of the Israelite nation. Quote, but Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all. That's Galatians 4:26. The Bantu found in the sub-Saharan regions of Africa as a result of what historians have called the Bantu Expansion. The Bantu Expansion was a process by which the Bantu quote-unquote Africans separated themselves from the Hamitic Africans in the north and northeastern parts of Africa. Their advanced knowledge of agriculture and working gave the Bantu the advantage over the indigenous Hamitic populations in Africa by allowing them to support large populations through the construction of advanced settled communities. As communities prospered and families grew, the initial areas of settlement became unable to support the abundance of people, animals, and crops, and thus the Bantu expansion eventually colonized the whole of sub-Saharan Africa. The Bantu expansion eventually colonized the whole of sub-Saharan Africa. However, where did the Bantu gain the knowledge that allowed them to prosper and conquer the African continent? Egypt, of course. Understanding that the Bantu are indeed the Israelites allows us to make the connection between the technological advances of ancient Egypt and the technologies that fueled the Bantu expansion. We know that the Israelites, according to the Bible, lived in the land of Egypt for, just no few generations, 430 years to be exact, my brother, before the famous Exodus under Moses' leadership. The body of knowledge that provided the success of the Bantu expansion, called advanced metallurgy, animal husbandry, architecture, carpentry, agricultural, astrological, religious, etc., was inherited by these Bantus from their Israelite ancestors during their long residence in Egypt. I don't really agree with that fully. I think that's giving way too much credit to Egypt. Not to take nothing away from them, but that's giving way too much credit to Egypt. We brought a lot of stuff, a lot of our knowledge to Egypt with us. The Israelites gathered a lot of skills during their time in Egypt. I mean, I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying I think way too much emphasis is put on what we got from them versus what they got from us, and whatever. They mastered these technical skills because they were forced to utilize their talents to build all of Egypt. See, that's what I'm saying. Thank you. Moreover, they were threatened with death or the death of their children if they did not perform to standard in their work of constructing Egypt. The threat of losing your life or your child's is definitely motivation and incentive to master any and all tasks placed before you. Egyptian architecture and civilization is known to be some of the most advanced in the world. Some, in fact, credit the mysteries of Egypt to ancient aliens because of the intricate precision of the ancient structures. According to the book of Jasher, the whole of Egypt, and namely the cities of Pithom and Ramses, was built by the Israelites. Come on. The Israelites had mastered these skills to perfection because of the violent bondage and strict religion-based building codes of the Egyptians. And the children of Israel built Pithom and Ramses, and all the children of Israel did the work, some making bricks and some building. And the children of Israel built and fortified all the land of Egypt and its walls. And the children of Israel were engaged in work for many years until the time came when the Lord remembered them and brought them out of Egypt. But the children of Levi were not employed in the work with their brethren of Israel from the beginning until the day their going forth from Egypt. For all the children of Levi knew that the Egyptians had spoken all these words with deceit to the Israelites. Therefore, the children of Levi refrained from approaching to the work with their brethren. And the Egyptians did not direct their attention to make the children of Levi work afterward, since they had not been with their brethren at the beginning. Therefore, the Egyptians left them alone. And the hands of the men of Egypt were directed with continued severity against the children of Israel in that work. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel work with rigor, and the Egyptians embittered the lives of the children of Israel with hard work in mortar and bricks, and also in all manner of work in the field. And the children of Israel called Melo, what was that? Milo, the king of Egypt, Meror, king of Egypt, because in his days of Egyptians had embittered their lives with all manner of work. In all the work wherein the Egyptians made the children of Israel labor, they exacted their rigor in order to afflict the children of Israel. But the more they afflicted them, the more they increased and grew. And the Egyptians were grieved because of the children of Israel. This is found in Jasher 65:31-38. And when Pharaoh, king of Egypt, saw that the counsel which Balaam had advised respecting the children of Israel did not succeed, but that still they were fruitful, multiplied, and increased throughout the land of Egypt, then Pharaoh commanded in those days that a proclamation should be issued throughout Egypt to the children of Israel, saying, no man shall diminish anything of his daily labor. And the man who shall be found deficient in his labor, which he performs daily, whether in mortar or in bricks, then his youngest sons shall be put in their place. And the labor of Egypt strengthened upon the children of Israel in those days. And behold, if one brick was deficient in any man's daily labor, the Egyptians took his youngest son by force from his mother and put him into the building in the place of the brick which his father had left wanting. And the men of Egypt did so to all the children of Israel day by day, all the days for a long period. But the tribe of Levi did not at that time work with the Israelites, their brethren, from the beginning. For the children of Levi knew the cunning of the Egyptians, which they exercised at first toward the Israelites. That's in Jasher 69:4-9. Under pain of death, the Israelites worked hard at their crafts to avoid punishment, and later took their mastery of various knowledges outside of Egypt with them during their migrations. Evidence of this can be clearly demonstrated in the Bantu expansion, which will connect to other places in the world connected to the Bantu expansion that also held evidences of the same connections to Egyptians' knowledge as well. And it says, pyramids found around the world after the departure of the Israelites from Egypt, but few to none were constructed in Egypt after the Exodus. Come on here now, one more time. pyramids found around the world after the departure of the Israelites from Egypt, but few to none were constructed in Egypt when the children of Israel left. And there we go, my people. That is part one of breaking down this whole Bantu expansion that we keep hearing about and kept hearing about, and not knowing exactly where they came from, the migration. 23andMe will tell us about this Bantu expansion, the Negroes, us coming from that, but they would never tell us where they came from or where they migrated from or none of that. But this comprehensive video right here, part one, really does that, breaks it down, and I hope you all enjoyed that. Um, we'll see how it goes for part two. Part two is a little bit more comprehensive than this one. But especially for all the new subscribers and all your new brothers and sisters in this truth, this is what it means. This is what the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary was talking about. The Bantus are the Negroes, and the Bantus/Negroes are the Israelites, the quote unquote lost children of Israel. But we're not lost. We're just scattered, and many of us still just don't know who we are. So please continue to do your part to share these videos. Like and comment, and do your part to kind of help awaken our brothers and sisters who have no clue that they belong to the children of Israel and the Most High's chosen nation. All right. So until next time, this is Dr. Ephraim signing off, saying Shalom, elect.